Lieutenant General Abdul Qayyum. Lieutenant General Abdul Qayyum is a former senator, and he's a Hilal Imtiaz military. He's a retired ex-chairman of the Senate Standing Committee on Defense Production. The general is a war veteran of 1971 Indo-Pak War and a renowned political defense analyst. General also remained as a parliamentary chairman for Pakistan-Iran and member of the Pakistan-America Parliamentary Friendship Group. Since General was traveling from Lahore to Islamabad, and we couldn't have him online because we thought that the weather condition is that it could disturb. So we have a recorded video of Lieutenant General Abdul Qayyum with us.
I am grateful to the institution, the Institute, for inviting me on this very important subject. I will touch upon four different aspects of this issue. One is the strength of Iran as a country. Number two, Pakistan-Iran relationship. Number three, what are the present now irritants in which these relationships have suffered because of them. And finally, some recommendations. So starting with the first part, Iran is a very important country on the globe. It has a population of over about 80 million people. It has a very rich culture and very old history of thousands of years. And it has a strong armed forces of about 500,000 people. It has missiles. Its defense budget is about $20 billion. And they have raised this army because for their defense. In addition to that, it has rich uranium deposits. Its GDP is about $454 billion. And it has Pakistan-US bilateral trade is not as good as we would like. It was $1.5 billion and it is now little less than that. On the Pakistan-Iran relations, we have very deep-rooted historic ties. With pride, I say that when Pakistan came into being in 1947, Iran was the first country which recognized it. And I think that gave strength to the idea of creation of a new state. And then in 1950, it was visited, the Pakistan and Iran signed a treaty of agreement. Then in 1964, we were part of RCD, in which Turkey was also included. In 1965 Indo-Pak War, Iran was in the forefront to help Pakistan. In 1971, again, our war with India, Iran had the sympathies for Pakistan. They provided us military equipment, and that was very good. The Iranian Revolution in 1979, our president, Pakistan was then the first country to recognize the new revolution. And our president, Ziaul Haq, had then said that this coming of Khomeini Sahib is in fact the resurgence of Islam in this region. Then in 1985, we became members of the ECO, both 1989 and that Soviet invasion of Afghanistan. In that, there were differences between Pakistan and Iran, because Iran was supporting Northern Alliance and Pakistan was supporting Mujahideen. That created some ripples. But then that was overtaken. In 1999, we signed a free trade agreement with Iran. And in 2001, Pakistan Iran Giant Business Council was established. And in 2002, probably, President of Iran paid a visit to Pakistan, and that was in a very good atmosphere. Now, what have been the problem areas? The problem area in which our bilateral relations, socio-economic, could not prosper. Number one is the United States unilateralism, that you want to pinpoint a country and targeted sanctions. So when you bypass the UN Charter and UN resolutions, and you don't allow a sovereign country to continue its own efforts for its economic prosperity or defense for that matter, based on the threat that they have, then you put sanctions and you single out that country. So this is what has been happening. And the irony is that in 1950, United States gave the first atomic reactor to Iran, but subsequently then they started targeting them, and Giant Comprehensive Plan of Action, when it was signed, later on, you see, unilaterally again, it was abrogated. Iran support for Palestinian cause, which all Muslims support, but then I see that was also taken not in a positive spirit, and because America is aligned with Israel and India, therefore they created that problem. Then Iran-Pakistan gas pipeline, which is a very good project. It was the need of Pakistan, which is an energy starved. That again came under those sanctions. That could have provided us cheap energy, which we needed. But then it was said that if you sign that, you will be under sanctions and so on. There were restrictions on banking transactions. There was a restriction on trade. So that is how I just... So that is what was really in a bad taste. Then Iran and Kingdom of Saudi Arabia relationship and their differences on Yemen, etc. Again, in a Muslim world, I think that was also one of the irritants, which could not create that harmony in the Muslim world to move forward. Then US always violated United Nations Charter and never bothered for the international law, and they targeted killing in Iran, which was so unfortunate, and singled out. The cooperation area with Iran that we can do, I had the honor to be the chair of Pakistan-Iran Parliamentary Friendship Group, which was made in when I was a senator. So I have been visiting Iran, and Iranian brothers have been visiting Pakistan, and we tried to remove all the irritants as far as we could do. But then there were sanctions, and unfortunately, we did not succeed on reviving Pakistan-Iran gas pipeline issue and other things. But I feel that we can do barter trade and so on. In the border management, we have land border with Iran, which is a country contiguous to our country, and we have same religion. And secondly, we have a contiguous coastline, which is a blessing. And I feel that we should, we can cooperate on that there is no terrorism activity across the border, drug trafficking, and then all sorts of human trafficking that we can stop. In addition to that, since we are improving now Gwadar Port, and then we have next door Chabahar, I think these ports need to be interlinked through the ferry service and also through the railway line. And that is how we can mutually move forward. In addition to that is cooperation in China-Pakistan economic corridor, and that should be extended to Chabahar and Iran so that all the regional countries benefit. Already there are more than 60 countries linked with this in different continents of the world. So CPAC is one project on which we can move hand in glove and really work for our country. Then we need to also do media cooperation. I think in Pakistan, we need to have some Iranian television network which should be working, highlighting the Iranian way of living, Iranian culture, Iranian, how they have improved their governance, how they are managing their issues, tourism and all that. Similarly, Pakistani channels in Urdu and in Persian, both in Iran, can also explain the strength of this country, which is over 200 million people, the tourism, the sites that we have, the best of them and all that. In the defense cooperation, again, we can undertake giant projects and move forward on that account. And then we always are grateful to the Iranian brothers for supporting the Kashmiri cause. And despite these international irritants, which by the vested interests, I think we must sit together and try to understand each other's compulsions and never ever give a chance to any foreign power, may it be United States or Israel or India, to create or to exploit any fault line. So on that account, I am sure that we have a mutual understanding. I feel that today in the entire globe, there are 4 flashpoints, which are nuclear flashpoints. One is Eurasia, where in Ukraine and issue of Crimea and all that. Second is South China Sea. Third is important is the Middle East, where the Israelis, who have 1.7 lakh people, regular army, and about 3.3 million reserves. It has a population of less than about 10 million people, but they have nukes, about 90 of them. They have missiles, and they have chemical, biological weapons, and so on. And they create a threat in Middle East. And the countries which want to protect their sovereignty and territorial integrity, as per the UN Charter, they have the right. They want to really create, neutralize that threat. And that one first method of doing that is through diplomatic means to diffuse the threat. But if that doesn't happen and your country is penetrated and attacked and your leaders are killed, then you have to take precautions also, that you create a deterrence that the others don't really. And the fourth flashpoint is South Asia, in which Kashmir is dispute between 2 nuclear powers. And we pray and hope that both these countries, Pakistan and Iran, work for the prosperity of our people and promote peace in this region. And especially in Afghanistan, we must sit together and see how we can help Afghan brothers without creating any sort of misunderstanding. And it is very good now that Iran is interacting with the Afghan Taliban government, and so is Pakistan doing on this account. We should have frequent visits of Iran, Pakistan leadership, and especially at the level of the parliaments. Parliamentary diplomacy is very important, because I've been interacting with the parliamentarians in Iran, and that has been always fruitful, that removes misunderstandings and so on. So with that, I conclude my input.